26. When morning came, my gloomy thoughts of the night before turned out to have been prophetic or something. Maybe more of that women's intuition that most of the time I don't take much stock in. The boys stopped in on their way to the mine and, beyond a sober good morning, wordlessly accepted the coffee I poured for them. I could see they had something on their minds, and whatever it might be was plainly no cause for rejoicing. "Something gone wrong at the mine?" I asked. "No, everything's fine up there," Dearsa responded, taking a cautious sip of the steaming coffee. "Have you missed any more nannies?" "Nary a one," Up and Up said. "You put a stop to that, dear madam, when you killed that cougar, remember." I tried again. "How's Pete?" "Fat and sassy," Dearsa reported. "Saw him yesterday up above the nanny's barn." I ran out of patience. Always in moderately short supply with me. "Then what in time's the matter with you?" I asked. Dearsa looked at Up and Up. Up and Up stirred his coffee. Finally, Up and Up spoke. "I've decided to quit messing around with gold mining," he said. "It's the bunk. I got a wife and child." So that was it. "You've had a wife and a child for quite a while," I said mildly. "So what brought this on?" "Yesterday brought it on," Up and Up said. "I think I've been one of them retarded adolescents the magazines you and Dearsa take are always talking about." "My goodness, Up and Up, what on earth do you mean?" He shook his head. "I guess I never really felt like I was a father until I dragged Benji out of that sluice box. Or maybe it was when I was running down the hill afraid he was drowned. And as for Nora, well, she needs me around to help bring up the kid." "Look, Up and Up," I said. "Those are extremely noble reasons for giving up the life you love. Just a little too noble for everyday use. If you haven't any others, you'd better—" "I got others," he interrupted me. "Nora, well, I kind of like her. And Benji, he's a first-rate kid. Plain truth is, dear madam, I've been missing a lot not being with them, and I don't aim to miss no more." "Well, that's better," I said. "I hope you realize, though, that it's going to be different taking a job in town." "Yeah," he said. Then he added doggedly, "But I guess I can stand it." I looked anxiously at Dearsa. The expression on his face did nothing to reassure me. "I suppose you'll go on to Wairika tomorrow and tell Nora," I said. Up and Up shook his head. "Can't make it. We're close to the cleanup. When that's over, will be plenty of time." "He's going to leave his share of the claims for me to take care of," Dearsa said. "I'll have to find somebody to help me. Maybe one of Millie's cousins. They're good, steady boys." He rose. I'm going to hang on. Personally, dear madam, I think he'll be back. I give him 6 months." "The very idea. Don't you say such a thing." My remark was addressed to myself as much as to Dearsa, for I was thinking the same thing. But I didn't want it to come out that way because I loved Nora and Benji so much. "Sorry," Dearsa muttered. "Come on, Up and Up. Let's get on the job." They went up the trail, and I was left to my thoughts. Very unhappy and unsettling they were, too. Then, for the first time, I realized what Up and Up's leaving would mean to me. I would not only lose Up and Up, I would also lose Nora and Benji. I wouldn't be hearing about them as I had after each of Up and Up's visits to them, and they wouldn't be coming to Bent Pine anymore. The trip to Wairika was too much of a jaunt for me to take often. This would be the end of any close friendship between us. Only Dearsa would be left. I sighed drearily. The days of spring went by. In my backyard, the fruit trees burst briefly into lovely bloom, then scattered the petals like pink snow. By looking closely, I could see the tiny green balls that the summer sun would bring to colorful beauty and juicy deliciousness. Trillium and the fairy-like columbine blossomed everywhere in the forest. Along the edges of countless tiny rills, tender, tangy watercress flourished. It was a lovely time, but I found only brief moments of pleasure in it. With Up and Up gone, life would be different. My thoughts drifted more and more often to San Francisco. The second week in April, the boys stopped washing gravel and went to work picking the larger nuggets out of the sluice boxes. That done, they removed the burlap lining of the sluice boxes and let it dry out. Then they burned it, leaving the gold dust in the ashes. At last they were ready to recover and weigh the result of 2 months' work. I wanted to go up to Bent Pine and watch them, but they pointedly did not invite me. Well, I didn't blame them. I would be sure to poke around asking questions. So Vicky and I stayed home. I spent a restless, unhappy day. Couldn't even settle down to working in my garden. Next morning, just as I was putting the coffee pot on the stove, there came a knock at my front door. "Come in," I called, thinking it was the boys. To my surprise, Tom stepped inside. "An airmail. Special delivery letter," he said, holding it out. "Lots of airmails come, but I don't very often get a special delivery. Hope it isn't bad news." I hurriedly tore the letter open. Who on earth would be sending me an airmail special delivery letter, and why? I read the first line and knew it was not bad news. Turned to the end, saw that the letter was signed by 5 of my relatives in San Francisco. A sort of round robin. "Just birthday greetings from my family," I said. "What date is this, Tom?" "The 13th of April. So this is your birthday?" "No, tomorrow. I'd forgotten about it." "Many happy returns, Mrs. Patterson. I'm glad the letter isn't bad news. Goodbye." "Thank you for bringing it up. Goodbye, Tom." I sat down and read the letter. The farther I read, the worse I felt. Why didn't I come back, they asked. Why did I persist in living so far away from them all, and in the wilds of Siskiyou County at that? At my age. Do come back. We'll get your house in order for you. We'll see that you are taken everywhere you want to go. We'll do everything possible to keep you comfortable, entertained, amused, happy, etc., etc., etc. My heart went out to them in gratitude for their love, their unselfish devotion. But they were concerned only with what they could do for me. There wasn't one word about what I could do for them. They didn't need me. Their lives were full and busy. They had no need for an old woman who would be 81 tomorrow. I would fill no gap in their lives. I would just be an appendage, a recipient of favors, lovingly planned and given, to be sure, but still one-way affairs. However, I asked myself, would I be any more needed here, with Nora up and Benji out of my life, only dear Sir left? I might as well face it. There was very little I ever had done or ever could do for dear Sir. He was always doing things for me, and in San Francisco I would be wrapped in every comfort. My thoughts went round and round as aimlessly as a wheel in a squirrel cage, getting nowhere, reaching no new goal. I would go, I would stay, I would go, I would stay. Unbearable. I jumped up, put on my coat, and started for Bent Pine, Vicky at my heels. If I hurried, I might catch the boys before they left for Happy Camp with their gold from the cleanup. I'd tell them about the letter, ask them, well, I didn't know exactly what, but just to talk to them would help. When Vicky and I came to Bent Pine, the boys were sitting down to breakfast. "Come in," dear Sir called. "We worked late last night, so we overslept. Otherwise, we'd have been gone by now. Will you have hot cakes and ham with us?" Not until then did I remember that I had come away without my breakfast. "I certainly will," I said, seating myself at the table. My spirits rose at the prospect of dear Sir's pancakes. There was a great sizzling as Up and Up poured batter on the griddle with a generous hand. Dear Sir filled my coffee cup. "How did the cleanup come out?" I asked. "Fair to middling. Could have been worse, could have been better. Round 3,000. Enough so I won't run out of beans for a while. And Up, he'll have a little breathing spell so he can look around for a job in Wairika. We'll have to take the first one that offers." "After we get the gold to the express office at Happy Camp," Up volunteered, flipping my plate-sized pancake over, "I'm going on to Wairika to tell Nora." "You going to stay there?" I asked Up with a sinking sensation. "Not today. I'll be back. Gotta help dear Sir for a week or so." Up put the giant pancake on my plate and topped it with a piece of delicately browned ham the size of his hand. "You're looking kind of down in the mouth, dear madam," he said. "What you got on your mind?" Between bites of ham and pancake, I told the boys about the special delivery letter. What are you thinking of doing? Dear Sir asked, looking down at his plate. I guess I might as well go back to San Francisco, I said drearily. Looks like it's a sensible thing to do. Everything seems sort of, well, changing here. After all, as they say, it's pretty silly at my age. I was interrupted by a rumbling sound of some heavy vehicle coming down the roadway to the cabin. It stopped with a screech of brakes. Hi, a woman's voice called. Get out here, you two big hummocks. We're going to need help. Step on it, will you? Nora's voice. We looked at each other wildly. We scrambled to the door. Dear Sir flung it open. There stood Nora, grinning at us, Benji in her arms. Behind her loomed a truck, its bulky load hidden under a tarpaulin. Do I stop here or pull ahead? Asked the driver. Just don't do nothing for a bit. Wait till I break the news to them, Nora replied. Nora, thundered Up and Up. What's in that truck? Shh, take it easy, Nora said, nervously patting Benji's fat leg. I hope you don't mind, Up and Up, but that's our furniture and a tarpaulin to go over it until you can build a cabin for Benji and me. For us, I mean. And and a tent for us to live in until the cabin is ready. She seemed to run down. None of us said anything, just stood there staring at her. I had never seen Nora look uncertain before. As I watched, her uncertainty turned to fright. Up and Up, she said, and waited. He was silent. Well, she said finally, if you don't want us, we can go back, I guess. I haven't rented the house yet. He glowered at her. I don't get it, he said. You mean you came here to stay? Nora glanced appealingly at Dear Sir, then at me. Neither of us spoke or moved. Even the man on the seat of the truck might have been carved out of stone. This was between her and Up and Up. Some of her old spirit came back to her. Of course I came intending to stay, silly. I figured I'd see a lot more of you, and Benji would too. A part-time father's no good for any kid, and everything would be different than when I lived on the Trinity River with Pa. There'd be dear Madam to keep me company, and a grin broke over Up and Up's face. Aw, gee, Nora. Gosh, that's swell. What do you know? I was going to Wairika today to tell you I'd come there to live. Of all the stupid things I've heard. You'd never be happy in a town. I saw that the day Benji and I were up at the mine. But you won't be happy here. Oh, yes, I will. You'll see. That is, if you... Say, lady, the truck driver broke in, looking completely bored. If you'll just tell me whether I'm to unload this stuff or take it back to Wairika. Up and Up took charge. Just pull up about 50 feet, he directed. We'll lay some boards on the ground and pile the furniture on top. Step back out of the way. No, the women, not you, dear sir. You lend a hand here. The truck driver did as he was told. Nora handed Benji to me, and I sat down on a bench to watch. Nora carried boards, helped lift tables, beds, rolls of carpet. In a short time, the empty truck turned around, headed back up the road. Up and Up, Dear Sir, and Nora put on the wall tent Nora had brought, placed a bed, table, dresser, and 2 chairs on it. Then they stretched the tarpaulin over the rest of the furniture and tied it down as a protection from the spring rains. It all happened so fast that I didn't fully realize the significance of it all. Nora and the men came back to the cabin. Up and Up took Benji from me. We went inside and sat down. The quiet was extraordinary. It was like being in the eye of a hurricane after the turmoil, activity, and confusion of the last hour. We weren't even thinking of the readjustment in all our lives that would have to be met and dealt with almost immediately. The peace didn't last long. Up and Up began to frown. Nora, he said, you're the wildest, craziest wife a man ever had. How are we going to buy lumber for a cabin? I'll bet you never gave that a thought. Dear Sir and I had only had a fair cleanup. Me and you and Benji can't live in a tent very long, only till early fall at the latest. Well, I've given it something that will pass for a thought until something better comes along, Nora retorted. I've got $2,000 in the Wairika bank, saved from when I was working for the telephone company. Hooray, that ought to do it. And what's more, Nora went on as if Up and Up hadn't spoken, remember I told you that I hadn't rented our house? I've got a buyer for it. Just waiting for us to sign the papers. Now, am I the craziest? No, Up and Up said with a look of admiration. I'll admit I've known crazier. If you want to, Nora went on, You can take the money from the house and buy, well, whatever it takes to work the mine on a somewhat larger scale at any rate. You and dear sir have always been yelping about how you wanted to do that. Nora, dear sir said in a voice that held both surprise and a kind of awe. I take back everything I ever thought about you. Thanks, dear sir. Nora's eyes sparkled. I wish Up and Up would say nice things to me like you do. An hour passed, and we settled down a little after all the excitement. The boys went off to Happy Camp with the gold, saying they'd be back by summertime. Oh, supper time. A little bit shorter. Supper time. I told them to come to my cabin and we'd eat there. Please bring some fancy food, I said, if there is such to be had in Happy Camp. Seems to me this calls for celebration. After the boys were gone, Nora, Benji, and I went down to my cabin and did nothing for the rest of the day. We talked part of the time, and part of the time we sat in companionable silence. Benji went to sleep on my bed, sweet and good and happy. I didn't bother about my problems. I didn't think about anything, except how happy I was that Nora and Up had found a solution to their problem, one I felt sure would bring happiness to them both, and to dear little Benji. As for me, well... Dear madam, Nora said, I never could have done it if you hadn't been there. I'm like the boys. I depend a lot on you. Depend on me? That doesn't make sense, Nora. I depend on them. They're always doing something for me. Why, how can you say? I don't know as I can explain it, Nora said, frowning. But, well, it means a lot, just that you're here. You're kind of like you're a part of the family. Oh, I said I couldn't explain. I'll ask dear sir. He says things better than I can. Well, I understood, sort of, about the boys, but Nora, what she would need me for was a mystery. Benji woke up and we talked of other things. Evening came, and with it the boys, back from Happy Camp. We gathered in the kitchen to inspect what they had been able to secure in the way of the fancy food I had requested. There was a chocolate cake from the little bakery, 2 cans of tiny peas, the kind dear sir liked so well, lettuce, tomatoes, a bottle of French salad dressing. Then came Up and Up's proud contribution, 4 huge, thick, wonderful steaks. I remember the time Nora had brought such steaks and Up and Up's outspoken disapproval of her extravagance. Oh my, I thought in dismay, I hope she won't remind him. I need not have worried. Oh, Up and Up, they're grand, she exclaimed. He grinned, patted her cheek. I knew that the strange battle that had been waged between them was over. Just one more thing, Up and Up said, fumbling in the box that had held the groceries. He drew out a can of mushrooms. You wanted fancy food, dear madam, he went on, and you sure got it. You're right. No one could have done better than you have, I conceded heartily. We cooked dinner together, everyone lending a hand in my tiny kitchen, working in happy confusion. After dinner was over and the dishes washed, my guests lingered on as though reluctant to end this day. It was as if we all felt that we had reached a milestone in our lives, at once an end and a beginning. The boys said nothing about the letter from San Francisco, nor of our talk that morning, and I was glad. I didn't yet know what decision I would reach regarding it, and I wanted nothing to mar the happiness of this day. Nora turned to dear sir. You know, I was trying to tell dear madam why we need her, why we depend on her, but I'm dumb when it comes to words. You tell her. Oh, that's very simple, he said, smiling. Up and I need her because she needs us. Nobody can get along very well unless they're needed by someone. But Nora, you've complicated matters. Who, me? Nora exclaimed. Why, I never. Oh, yes, you have, dear sir said, serious now. You and Benji will be at Bent Pine from now on. You're going to need dear madam as a friend and companion. Benji's going to need her for the special kind of love she has for him, different from the love of a father or mother, and even that of a kind of step-uncle like me. Benji and you are really going to need her, isn't that so? It sure is, Nora said fervently. My goodness, I thought, they're talking about me. I think we better go now, dear sir rose. It's after 11. We're going to be pretty busy from now on. And dear madam's got her work cut out for her, too. He turned, looking directly at me. Haven't you, dear madam? He asked. I knew that his question held a depth of significance only he and I understood. Yes, I said steadily. I have my garden to plant and take care of. you boys to be dependent on, Nora to talk to, and Benji to help bring up in the way he should go. Oh yes, I have plenty to do here in the Siskiyous, and I intend to do it. Good, he said. That's what I thought you would say. Up and up. You going to carry Benji? Good nights were said, and they went down the trail in the starlight, accompanied by the ever-present chant of the great river rushing tumultuously past. Long after they had gone, I sat at the kitchen table, drinking coffee, Vicky lying at my feet. The calendar on the wall showed that this day was the 13th of April. The clock said that in 7 minutes more it would be midnight, and I would be 81 years old. My decision was made. I would continue to live here in my little cabin, within sight and sound of the Klamath River. Here was the life I wanted, the life I loved. Flowers to fill my days with beauty, Vicky to protect me, and my dear friends at Bent Pine who depended on me, who needed me. My days would be full and happy, with the deepest satisfactions life can offer. The end. Thank you, Stella Walthall Patterson.